going to be talking about Chapter 4, which is all about multicultural and bilingual education. You should have already written your definition of culture and done those things before you start watching this video. Okay, just a little introduction. What do you think is the most important thing about multicultural education? You should have written that in your blog and talked about the most important things, what you feel, your opinion is. Because one of the things that we know from research is that children take on the prejudices of their family. So if you have some children who come from a family that has a negative view of other races, other cultures, then those children more than likely are going to come to school with those same prejudices. So we have to really know how to combat those things. And as you know, if you've done any reading about education lately, then you know the trend is moving toward a greater need to teach acceptance and diversity. And why is that? One of the reasons is because more and more people from other cultures are migrating to the United States, and so we have a change in population, and we're becoming a more global society because of the technology integration. Okay, so all about multicultural and bilingual education. We know that the goal is to help students develop more positive attitudes. So we need to help students to know how to interact with people from other backgrounds other than themselves. One of those ways is by reading multicultural literature. And in our class session, we will actually do an activity with this book here, The Colors of Us, and we'll see how we can have students become more open to accepting others that are different from them, and we'll answer this question, what can we do to teach kids about that acceptance? We know some of the effects of prejudice are that they limit the opportunities of both sides of the coin, the ones that are prejudiced, but also the victims. It affects self-esteem, their ability to achieve. It can also make this negative feeling within them. It also limits social rest. In other words, think about the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case of this summer. The different groups that are now going against each other, the Black community and the Latino community. So they have these negative feelings because of this that's happened in their communities. So we need to teach our children to empathize with others. But how do we do that? That's one of the more difficult things to answer. Well, one way we do that is by incorporating multicultural units in our lessons and our plans. So the very first thing you should do is really expose children to a lot of different experiences, whether they be print or non-print. So without discrimination. So we have books on various American cultures. There are books about everything, and we will examine and evaluate some of those in class. Have guest speakers, whether they be by Skype. You can do it through Google Hangout, which is another way to sort of Skype an expert. They can attend your class virtually. You can actually take kids on field trips and also virtual field trips as well. So those communities or those areas or museums or whatever that you cannot physically go to, you can visit those virtually, and they can have a lot of the same experiences. Always expose kids to lots of music. When you're talking about other cultures, each culture is very musically distinct. Also let kids participate in events and invite community members from different ethnic groups to share about their lives. I know when I was teaching primary school, we had a Native American unit, and we had people from the community who made Native American crafts and clothes and things like that come and share. And so that was a really rich experience. So I want you to think about these things when you think about your multicultural group presentation projects, and try to incorporate as many of these things as possible. The next phase with the multicultural unit really has kids dive into reading, get to know characters from other cultures, get to know them from other communities, make comparisons between those characters in that community and the students themselves. help them to identify with characters. Of course, it's going to be harder for younger kids to do that because it's hard for them to take that point of view, but you need to help them along with that. The next phase of the multicultural unit deals with the point of view. So you're actually going to facilitate deeper understanding. You're going to have kids take on that point of view. We will look at a book from Ellis Island where these immigrants coming over, this book contains a lot of their thoughts and their writings, and it would be a really rich way to get kids to take on someone else's point of view. And then in phase 4, students can actually create their own character, become someone else from a different community. So you're just gradually scaffolding that point of view along this whole continuum. And then phase 5 would be help kids to become an ally. In other words, now that they have researched about this culture or community, these people, now you can help them to really become active parts of a solution of when they see things that are not right that are happening, that they can take a stand and work to eliminate inequalities, become an ally or a friend to those who are treated unfairly. And we also have to remember that this does not always have to be someone from a different race. It can be someone who is just different, has a disability, looks different. They don't wear really nice clothes. They don't have nice shoes. However they're different, to just be accepting of them no matter what the difference. Another aspect of multicultural education, obviously, is culture. What really is culture? In the videos that you watched before listening to this, you should have got a good idea of what culture is. Cultural Awareness Month is in February, Black History Month, but it needs to go beyond that. It's really important for you as a teacher to know about these different cultures so you can help have different strategies in your classroom that help students become successful. So if you look back over the history of the United States, you'll see that at one point we were known as the melting pot because all these cultures were coming together and they were melting into each other and becoming more similar, which is what assimilation means. So they became assimilated into one culture. Well, psychologists and sociologists who have studied people over the course of history have said this is not really a good thing. It's not always good to do away with your native culture and to assimilate into another one because you lose that rich history. So then we went on and then we were known as a salad. In other words, lots of cultures tossed together with some parts being more important than others. So there wasn't really an equality thing going on there. They were all distinct and not really helpful to each other. But now there are psychologists that describe the American culture as a tapestry. All the parts equal, bound together, they make up a wonderful, beautiful pattern. Lots of values and pride, aspirations all go into the culture that we now call a tapestry.